September 22nd, 1899, Volume 2, Repugnance in Writing. I felt a nail stuck in my heart because of the words spoken yesterday by my sweet Jesus. And he, always benign with this miserable sinner, to relieve my pains, came, and all compassion for me told me, "My daughter, do not want to afflict yourself any longer. Know that everything I make you write, either about virtues or in the form of similes, is nothing but making you portray yourself and the perfection which I made your soul reach." Oh God, what a great repugnance I feel in writing these words, because what he says does not seem true to me. I feel I still don't understand what virtue and perfection is, but obedience wants it so, and it is better to croak than having to deal with her, more so since she has two faces. If one does as she says, she assumes the appearance of a lady, and caresses you like a most faithful friend. Even more, she promises you all the goods that are in heaven and on earth. But then, as soon as she detects a shadow of difficulty against her, immediately, without letting herself be noticed, one goes about looking at her and finds her a warrior in the act of arming his weapons to wound you and destroy you. Oh, my Jesus, what kind of a virtue is this obedience that makes one tremble at the mere thought of her? Then while Jesus was saying those words to me, I told him, "My good Jesus, what good is it for my soul to have so many graces, if then they embitter my whole life, especially because of the hours of your privation? In fact, understanding who you are, and of whom I am being deprived, is a continuous martyrdom for me. So they serve me for nothing but to make me live continuously embittered." And he added, "When a person has tasted the sweetness of a food, and then is forced to take the bitter, in order to remove that bitterness, he doubles his desire to taste the sweet, and this does much good to that person, because if he always tasted the sweet, without ever tasting bitterness, he would not take the sweet into great consideration. But if he always tasted bitterness, without knowing the sweet, by not knowing it, he would not even desire it. Therefore both one and the other do good. So it is good for you also. And I, my Jesus, most patient in bearing a soul so miserable and ungrateful, forgive me. It seems to me that this time I want to investigate too much. And Jesus, do not be disturbed. It is I myself who raises these difficulties in your interior, to have the occasion to converse with you, and also to instruct you in everything. September 22nd, 1900, Volume 4. As many times as she disposes herself to make the sacrifice of death, so many times does Jesus give her the merit, as if she were truly dying. As I was all oppressed and afflicted, upon coming my adorable Jesus told me, "My daughter, why do you remain all immersed in your affliction?" And I, "Ah, my beloved, how can I not be afflicted, since you do not want to take me with you yet, and you leave me on this earth still?" And he, "Ah, no, I do not want you to breathe this sad air of yours, because everything I have placed inside and outside of you is all holy. So much so that if something or someone draws near you who is not upright and holy, you feel bother, immediately detecting the opposite stench of that which is not holy. Now why would you want to shade what I have placed inside of you with this air of sadness? Know, however, that as many times as you dispose yourself to make the sacrifice of death, so many times do I give you the merit as if you were truly dying. This must be of great consolation for you, more so since you conform to me more, as my life was a continuous dying. And I, Lord, it does not seem to me that death is a sacrifice. On the contrary, it seems to me that life is sacrifice. And as I wanted to say more, he disappeared. September 22nd, 1910, Volume 9. Each virtue is a heaven that the soul acquires. This morning, continuing in my usual state, Blessed Jesus came for just a little and told me, "My daughter, each virtue is a heaven that the soul acquires. Therefore, as many virtues as she acquires, so many heavens does she keep forming, and these heavens defeat all human inclinations, destroy that which is earthly, and make the soul wander through the purest auras, through the holiest delights, through the celestial fragrances of the highest good, anticipating for her part of the eternal joys." And he disappeared. September 22nd, 1924, Volume 17. Diabolical Rage, because Luisa writes on the divine will. Living in the divine will makes one lose all rights over the human will. I continue. While I was writing what is written above, I saw my sweet Jesus placing his mouth at the point of my heart and feeding me the words I was writing. At the same time, I heard a horrible din from afar, as if people were beating each other and roaring with such clamor as to strike fear. And I, turning to my Jesus, said to him, "My Jesus, my love, who is making all this din? They sound like furious demons. What is the matter that they rage so much?" And Jesus, "My daughter, it really is them. They would want you not to write about my will, and when they see you write more important truths on living in my will, they suffer a double hell, and they torment the damned even more. They fear so much that these writings on my will be manifested, because they see that they lose their kingdom upon earth, which they acquired when man, withdrawing from the divine will, gave free step to his own human will. Ah, yes, it was exactly then that the enemy acquired his kingdom on earth. And if my will reigns upon earth, my enemy by himself will shut himself up into the deepest abysses. This is why they wrestle with so much fury. They feel the power of my will in these writings, and at the mere thought that they may be manifested, they fly into a rage and try anything they can in order to hamper a good so great. You, however, do not pay attention to them, and learn from this to appreciate my teachings. And I, "My Jesus, I feel I need your omnipotent hand in order to write what you say about your will. In the face of the so many difficulties they raise, especially when they keep saying to me, 'How is it possible that no other creature ever lived in his most holy will?' I then feel so annihilated that I would rather to disappear from the face of the earth, so that no one may see me ever again. But against my will, I am forced to stay in order to fulfill your holy will." And Jesus, "My daughter, living in my will brings with itself the loss of any right of one's own will. All the rights belong to the divine will, and if the soul does not lose all of her rights, it cannot be called true living in my will. At the most, she lives resigned, conformed. In fact, living in my will is not only that she does her action according to my will, but that in all of the interior of the creature she gives no place to one affection, one thought, or one desire, or even one breath, in which my will does not have its place. Nor would my will tolerate even one human affection of which it is not the life. It would feel disgusted in letting the soul live in my will with her own affections, thoughts, and other things which a human will could have without the divine. And do you think it is easy that a soul would willingly lose her rights? Oh, how difficult it is! There are souls who, when they reach the point of losing all the rights over their own will, draw back and content themselves with conducting a life in the middle, because to lose her rights is the greatest sacrifice that a creature could do. But it is the one which disposes my goodness to open the doors of my will, giving her my divine rights in exchange by letting her live in it. Therefore be attentive, and never go out of the boundaries of my will. End of September 22nd. Fiat.